Hey everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to do a fun and interesting kind of video, a video that many of you folks have been requesting, and that is an updated tour of my home here in downtown Denver. I live about a block away from Coors Field, which you can't see right now because it's dark, but I did end up having to shoot this video in different time parts because I screwed up with 4K. But we're also going to take a look at some of the propagations that I've been doing and some other fun things, including some design aspects. So let's get started. And we shall begin the tour here in the room of the living, also known as my living room, where mostly my plants live, and I don't. But this is one of my favorite spots because it has some of my favorite plants in here, most of which get the best view of not only parts of downtown, but also of Coors Field, because this is my main source of light. Now, it is not the best light for plants coming in from the west, except for in the summer. It's really good, but they seem to be doing fine. In fact, you can see that there's so much growth on them happening. In fact, I noticed a lot of new growth, not just on my King Anthurium here, my dear friend Todd, a brand new little leaf coming out. That is the first leaf that has come out on this philodendron King Anthurium veitchii, as its species name is, since I've had it. So I'm really happy about that. That is one of my favorite plants, hands down. And then another one of my favorites, which has another new leaf trying to slowly but surely emerge, is my philodendron Felix. I really like how its leaves are. They're long and they will just get longer as this matures in age. I got it as a baby in September, and it has given out one leaf so far, but it has like this leathery, thick leaf, and I absolutely love it. It is stunning. And a really easy to care for plant too. But yeah, this is where I keep most of my favorite plants. I have other Anthurium over here. I have Anthurium crystallinum, I don't know how to say it, don't judge me. This one I've had for about a year and a half, and I recently got a new little one that has sprouted out a beautiful new leaf. And what I love about their leaves is that they come out this kind of dark red, and all of a sudden they have this really silver lining on their foliage, and then it turns into this dark green. They're stunning. In fact, this one that I've had, the mature one, for a year and a half now, you can actually see that this is a new leaf that emerged within the last week and a half, and you can see that red coloring there on the leaf and the silver mixed in with it. This plant I have put through heck and back because I did not know how to care for Anthurium. So it suffered for a long time, and I'm surprised it actually survived because I was not expecting it to. But it's also showing signs of a new little leaf coming out, which is really good news for plant parents, of course. You know, over here, I recently got this one and did an unboxing on it, and this is a Syngonium chiapense, and I absolutely love it, and I just got done repotting it. Now, I got this plant from Steve's Leaves online, a great online plant retailer, and what I love about this plant is just the fact of how big its leaves are, and they are really thick leaves. It actually reminds me of a philodendron in its kind of growth. It's a climber just like it, and of course falls under the same family that a philodendron would, which is the Araceae family, nicknamed aeroids, as I told you guys in past videos. Up here, this is the rarest of all philodendron, and this was also given to me by my buddy Todd over at the Brown's Petal here in Denver. This is the philodendron Spiritus sancti, and this one loves really high humidity and high temperatures. Now, I give it one of those things in my climate here, and that is I give it high humidity. But I like to keep the temperatures a little bit cold, and by cold I mean like 65-ish. This would ideally want about 90 degrees. And it's also kind of in dormancy right now. It's had 2 new leaves come out, but there's another little stem that is starting to slowly emerge right now. But I have it under these grow lights here, and you'll notice these grow lights throughout my apartment. I have 1, 2, 3 over here in the living room, and they're from Soltech Solutions, which I had heard about on another plant vlogger's website here on YouTube, and they have worked wonders. And when I mean wonders, literally, these things have made my plants grow, because during the summer months, I have all of this light pouring in because the sun will literally set over the Rocky Mountains, which is right directly that way to the west. But right now, the sun is so far south that these plants only get like what's coming in and bleeding in from the sunlight during the day. And of course, we're in the winter months where there's less sunlight and all that silliness. So yeah, the Soltech lights have been a huge game changer and have really helped out a lot. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. I'm just sharing my expertise, and by expertise I mean amateur tropical plant hobbyist. What I've noticed so far with my plants and these lights, because I have tried so many other different kinds of brands of grow lights, like the ones you find on Amazon and this and that, and I just haven't really had as much luck as I have with the Soltech ones. So carrying on, this right here is a philodendron Jose Bono, and what I love about this guy, I'm gonna let this little plant fall down. What I love about this guy is how big its leaves get. I mean, that's a mature leaf right there, and you can see the patterning on it. I love those kind of lighter green speckles that come, and this thing has put out 3 new leaves so far, 2 new leaves with a 3rd coming in, and look at, you can see that speckling of white, and then it'll eventually turn darker green in this new leaf that's coming out. This one has been so much fun to grow with and see it grow. I'm excited for those leaves to get humongous. Putting these back is a challenge. Okay. I've told you about this beauty before, and this beauty is my philodendron Florida Ghost. And it's called a ghost because, as you can see, its new leaves come out white. In fact, we have a brand new leaf that is coming out right here, and that just started a day ago. It was still kind of wrapped up, and now it's coming out white. I've had this plant for now, gosh, almost 2 years, and for the first 2 years I had it, no white leaves at all. In fact, they just came out green, and I didn't realize what its needs were. Its needs were bright light, high humidity, good temperatures. I hooked it up. I got it all good, and so now its leaves are coming out white, and they stay white for a couple of months too, which is really neat. Behind it, I would say, is hands down one of my favorite plants. My top 2, outside of my philodendron billietier, which I've told you guys about, the one with the really long leaves, I propagated that up. I propagated it up a couple weeks ago because it was getting too big and taking up too much space in my little apartment here, that I just didn't really have a whole lot of area for it. So I'm turning it into a bunch of smaller plants that are going to have humongous leaves, and I'll show you guys those in a moment. But my philodendron patriciae is without a doubt one of my favorite, if not like my 2nd favorite plant, because its leaves are so long and leathery and beautiful, and it's been a really healthy and great plant to see grow. In fact, up here there's a brand new leaf that just started to emerge yesterday, so I'm really excited about that. And like a lot of other philodendron, including the billietier, this one is a climber. And by climber, I mean, you can see I have this moss pole here, and the plant climbs up like it would in the forest in its natural habitat in the tropics. And it's climbing up a tree trying to get as much light as possible. And you can see those aerial roots that come out. They actually latch onto the tree, and that allows those leaves to get bigger because they'll absorb more of that moisture. And then, of course, we have over here, and I have talked about this plant so much because it is lovely and glorious, and that, of course, is my philodendron gloriosum. I mean, it reminds me so much of that Anthurium crystallinum I was showing you, or crystallinum. When its leaves come out, they're these big bushy hearts, and what's beautiful about them is that they also have that silver venation. And a really easy to care for plant, by the way. I was so shocked at how easy this has been to care for, so much so I recently just got a smaller one that I started growing, so I'm curious to see how that does. And these are climbing philodendron, like I have explained in the past. And climbing philodendron are crawling. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Crawling philodendron are interesting because they crawl along the jungle floor in their natural habitat. Unlike the climbers, like the Patriciae above it, which would climb up a tree, these ones are just crawling along the ground. So that's why I have it in a kind of a rectangular pot, because it needs that space to grow. And I would say, those are some of my favorite plants. Oh, I do want to show you this, because this is beautiful. This is another anthurium here, and I forget the name of it, but you can see it also, when its new leaves come out, they come out that beautiful red, and they are so stunning. They look glossy and plastic. But this is exciting for me because this is also the first time that I have had an anthurium flower. You see that little flower right there? That's a happy plant. And it was really exciting to see that. I had no idea. It could have been flowering for a week. I didn't notice it until the other day. But yeah, it's such a beautiful, beautiful plant. And I also took another crawler of mine, and I propagated it probably about a month ago, and it has been doing really, really well. Another philodendron here, and just look at those silver leaves. Like, I don't know what it is. That silver vining with that dark green just looks absolutely stunning. And a crawler, and the mother plant is doing well. This one's doing well. I propagated in a way I'd never done before, and that's to cut right where it's crawling and then just pot it up and just continuously water it. So it's kind of just rooting in there into the soil without having like a water propagation, which I would normally do. So roots would start growing before I actually plant it. So far, so good. And I am happy about that. Over yonder, another favorite of mine is the hybrid of the philodendron gloriosum and the philodendron, why am I blanking on its name? The philodendron, and I have two of them. It'll pop into my mind, or I'll pop up a graphic, or at least I'll attempt to. It is a hybrid mix between those two, and this one comes out with such beautiful red leaves as well. And I just love philodendron because they have that beautiful heart-shaped leaves. Most of them do. There are tons of philodendron that don't. And yeah, why am I blanking on that philodendron's name? It's literally like right over here. Philodendron, what is your name? Share your name with me. It's probably up on the screen, the graphic or whatever. Yeah, so those are a few of my favorite plants. But here also, like I was telling you, we're going to talk about some of the plants that I've been propagating recently. I had recently chopped up, I think maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, my philodendron Ataba potentia, which is one of my favorite plant names to say because it's an Ataba, Mr. Ataba here. And I propagated him and chopped him up a little bit because he was doing so well climbing up this. And so this will eventually start growing again. But until then, I took a couple cuttings, and I have one of them here in my living room, right above my couch. And it has not started to root just, actually, yeah, it has. It's got new little roots coming out just right about there. And on the other side too. I wasn't surprised. I'm kind of surprised by that. I wasn't expecting it that soon. But yeah, once those roots get to at least like 3-4 inches, I'll pop these babies up and start some new plants there. And so in terms of some other ones that I've been propagating that I have over here. Oh, my big bushy philodendron variegated burley marks. That thing is such an intense grower and grows so fast that I have a ton of different cuttings that I have been water propagating in these little jars. And you can see like how quickly these things have rooted up. They are just crazy in their rooting, super fast. And you can see why they're variegated, because they have this cream splash color on them, which is absolutely lovely. And I have already actually propagated this plant before, and because it propagated so fast, I was able to just start cutting it up some more. In fact, this is one of the propagations of more of a non-variegated size, the size that I had potted up 2 weeks ago, and already you can see that it's starting to grow a new leaf right there. And another actual cutting of it that I had that I propagated in water and potted up. I had 3 original leaves in the propagation. This one, this older yellow one, right here, and this one. So 1, 2, 3. So far, it has put out 3 new leaves. One with full-on cream color, and then one this splash of it, like the variegated is supposed to be, and it has 2 new little leaves coming out here soon. So they need really high light, so I have it here in the corner where we can get some good Soltech solution light as well as some regular, obvious, sunlight. And if you don't have them in good lighting, the issue then becomes that they will lose their variegation. So it'll just turn into like a darker green philodendron burley marks, which is fine by me because they are stunning plants to begin with, and I really love the original. So outside of that, speaking of Burley Marks, who is a famous plant fella and interior designer not interior designer, but landscape architecture from down in South America, and so many plants are named after him because he discovered so many stunners. This right here is another one of my favorites. I just finished watering it today, and this is the cousin of that one, the variegated version that I just showed you, and this is the Philodendron Burley Marks Fantasy. And look at those leaves. Aren't they absolutely stunning? And look what's emerging. Another new leaf. This thing has actually been growing so well, and it's been so happy. And I just literally, it gets no natural light except for what bounces off the windows. It's just over here underneath one of those Soltech lights, and it's thriving. It's living its best life. And it's also got a humidifier next to it, so I'm sure it's thrilled because it gets that high humidity. So over here, I have some more cuttings. Yeah, we have some more of the variegated Burley Marks here, and you can see this one has rooted a ton, which is good news. And then I have a Philodendron Brazil, and I showed you those ones before. I have plenty of them that are kind of just sprawled out around my ceiling here. I also cut up my big bushy Philodendron Dark Lord, and that thing has been rooting up like crazy. In fact, these are 2 of the cuttings here, and you can see just kind of like how long the roots have grown, so much so that they have been growing so fast. I've already potted up one of the plants and have it over there next to the window. Was able to pot up 3 of the cuttings, and I believe I'll have to do some more probably tomorrow with my plant chores, now that I'm off work for a couple days for the holidays. Let us see, what else can I show you over here? I have just some more of those cuttings. And then this is a Philodendron Jade Satin Scindapsus, which I actually have, and this darn bird of paradise is going to be in the way, but I'll tell you, it's over here, and I've shown you guys this before. This is one that I have trained climbing up my wall over here, and that's one of my favorite Scindapsus. Scindapsus, I have found, have been one of the most challenging plants to have root. That said, this guy here, this single cutting, has been in this glass jar for probably 3 months now, and it finally has a thick enough root where I can pot it up. So that'll be on my plant dad chores for tomorrow. But that thing has been doing pretty well. And I have some other ones that I'll show you that aren't doing as well, and they're in longer strands. And I just don't know why, but I noticed that with Scindapsus, it just takes them so much longer to root compared to, let's say, a Philodendron or even a pothos. So let's head over to my workspace. Welcome to my workspace. This is where I work. Shameless plug, by the way. Over here I have a Philodendron heteroecium that I have propagating. These ones actually, they actually do root pretty well within like a couple of weeks. I would say 3 to 4 weeks, and you're good to go with potting them up. They've been doing really well. I also have a bunch of like air plants kind of hanging around. Another philodendron hederaceum that is a heartleaf philodendron, as you'd find in like the grocery store and stuff, that's potted up right here next to my desk. And above it is a Hoya carnosa, which is absolutely lovely. It's kind of white splashes. Up against this wall, I've done a YouTube video on this, and I'll link to it in this video. This is my propagation wall that I have behind me on my desk. And let's take actually a better look from this vantage point. There we go, much easier to see. Yeah, so I have some water propagations up here of 2 more philodendron dark lords, and both of these are rooted so well they're ready to be potted up, so maybe I'll do that tomorrow as well. Then I just have some neon pothos over here, and in the center, this beautiful, beautiful leaf is one of those philodendron Florida ghosts, but it's the one that just doesn't turn into that variegated yellow color, but it's still lovely regardless. And that one is doing lovely and really well as well. And then I decided, because I have put this thing through heck and back just like some other plants, I chopped up my philodendron varicosum again, which was in my early plant parent stage the most difficult plant for me to grow, because this thing grows in a tropical cloud rainforest in Central America at an elevation of something like, I think like 8,000 feet in elevation. I'm 5,280 feet here in Denver, but it's like 6,000 to 8,000, I think. Really high humidity, but cool temperatures. And so I had to grow that plant inside of a glass chamber for the first year that I had it. And so I decided to start propagating it and chopping it up and planting new babies until it started getting used to my environment, which it has, but I want to give it one more round. Oh, I wanted to show you guys these propagations over here, because this is one of those philodendron bilietiae, my favorite plant, cuttings that I have, and it has been rooting pretty darn well. I had to put its neck through this little hook over here, and I won't disturb it because its roots are growing pretty nicely. But I also have another cutting of the variegated burly Marx philodendron in here, and you can see more of that variegation in its leaf there, and it's absolutely stunning. And the mother plant is actually just behind. So I was also explaining to you about how difficult it has been to propagate those scindapsus, how long they take to really kind of root out. I would say it's like 2 months compared to 2 to 3 months compared to like a couple weeks for philodendron or a pothos and epiprenum. But that jade satin scindapsus, the one that I showed you, I had in a little vessel for 3 months, and it finally grew thick enough roots where I can pot it up tomorrow. That little cutting is doing really well, but I took a long strand of my plant and it's not doing well. It's been up there in that propagation tank for I think like a week and a half, 2 weeks, but the leaves are starting to curl in and they're not doing well. And the same goes for the one in my kitchen. So that has been an issue. But you know what? It's trial and error, and that's why we propagate, to try to learn how to fix things, right? Speaking of fixing things, that's what I do in the kitchen. I fix myself dinner. So let's head into there to check in on those gigantium, the philodendron gigantium cuttings that I showed you in a previous video, which I'll link to check and see how they're doing that have been on the wall. Let's go. All right, this one was a fun project, as you'll remember, because I did a YouTube video on it as well, chopping up the giant philodendron gigantium leaves, which gets its name for obvious reasons. These ones, I checked on my YouTube page, have only been up for 3 weeks so far, and 3 weeks, and look at how long those roots have gone. They're literally climbing out of the glass vessel here. These glass vessels I got on Amazon. If you just like search like water propagation wall vessel, you should find them. You can find like 4 of them for like 20 bucks. They're really cheap, and they just hook onto your wall, and they come with those hook clips. This guy I'm going to need to pot up tomorrow with a couple more of them because all of them have been rooting up like crazy, and that was a fun project. You'll recall like the video of how much it was just kind of going into it, having to tear and chop that baby down because I have it in my bedroom, and you know, it just needed to be done, and it has made for some really fun wall decor here in my kitchen. So as soon as I pot these up, I'm not quite sure like what I'm going to put in there next. Maybe something climbing again, but we'll see. You will also see here in my kitchen another propagation area, and this is another example of that jade sand scindapsus that's not doing too well. I mean, look at how those leaves look so crisp and kind of just curly. They're not doing great, but this philodendron green goddesses, it's actually rooting pretty well. There's another scindapsus. This one is a Scindapsus exotica, which is one of my favorites because look at how beautiful those leaves are with their silver splashes in there. I've had success with propagating those ones up, but again, they're just so slow to root. That one's starting to get a little root coming out, but that's been up there for 2 weeks now. And that, I don't know, we'll have to see, guys. That's just how it's gonna go. Here's a wider view, though, of what the living room looks like from my kitchen. And we'll pan over to give you a reminder view of just how wide and big those philodendron giganteum cuttings are. I mean, this is my hand. And that is one leaf, and that's one of the smaller leaves. This one right here, that gives you a better idea too. The biggest leaf is that one, though. That one's probably got to be at least 20 inches, and it's ready to be propagated up. But above my kitchen area where I would cook and I make my coffee in the morning is my wall of pothos. And this pot up here in the center is actually the first plant I ever had, and it started off as just a couple leaves, and most of what you're seeing there on the wall is it. And I've had those clipped up there to help support. Above that is a philodendron Brazil. I love the colors in this guy as well. They're just so stunning. But yeah, that's a look at what my kitchen looks like right now with the propagation wall and all that stuff. So we will now venture back over towards my workspace again, and it's more of those propagation cuttings, just to give you a different view. And this is a different view of the living room to give you more of that tour that I told you I would. And you can see here, this is the mother plant of that philodendron variegated Burley Marks. Not much variegation left except for on that one leaf and maybe a couple others. Above it is my grow wall, and that is a bunch of different philodendron heartleaf ones, hederaceums. We have the standard green, and then of course we have the lemon lime, and then in the middle there we have more of the philodendron Brazil with those beautiful variegated colors. And then below it I have a propagation that was super easy to make, by the way. If you have a Maranta, a prayer plant, this was a cutting from mine. That thing rooted up so quickly, and I potted that up. Another cutting of my philodendron varicosum. And over here is one of my favorites. This is a jewel orchid. Orchids are normally epiphytic and they grow on the side of trees, but the jewel orchids, they grow in the ground, and it has beautiful dark foliage. And in that dark foliage, I don't know if it picks up this well, but those aren't actually white lines, they're pink lines. And so I propagated that and I turned it into a second one right there. This is that scindapsus that I have currently in the center area of my kitchen wall that I was telling you about. These leaves are pretty massive and they get so huge. This is actually a potted plant and is doing really well. And another view over here. Up there, I have one of the cuttings of the philodendron biliaceae, and that cutting is doing well and it has rooted, and so sooner or later I'm going to have to start potting that up. But the big cutting is right there in the corner. I found that that area up there gets really good lighting in terms of if you're propagating something, so I have that up there, and that's the one that has a new leaf growing out of it, so hopefully I can pot that up soon. But to give you a glimpse of some of my other favorite plants, we have right here a cutting that started with a couple cuttings of my original philodendron melanocornizum. You can see those old leaves right there. They sprouted out and turned up into these beautiful new leaves. The philodendron melanocornizum, which means black and gold because of the colors that emerge when a new leaf starts to come out. In fact, there's a new leaf that's unfurling up there, and it's a beautiful, beautiful plant. Very difficult to care for though. You need high humidity, and I'm trying to get it used to my area and my climate without having to adjust it too much. This is a cutting of a philodendron painted lady, which is a gorgeous philodendron. This here is a monstera, believe it or not. We always think of monsteras as these guys here, which is the Monstera deliciosa, but this is actually the Monstera silviplicana, and it has these beautiful silvery, really shimmery silvery leaves, which actually as they mature, they'll start to fenestrate, and fenestration is this. It's when you have these blank spaces here, which is actually really helpful for the plant because in the jungle, when there's a windstorm coming through, the wind can kind of just go through them without having to like pull the plant down, you know. Over here is another Scindapsus. This is one of my favorites, and this is the Trubii. And it has beautiful silver leaves that are a little bit sad looking right now because I watered it today, and they'll tell you when they're sad because they get droopy. Yeah, and up there, that is another cool looking plant, and that's a Monstera as well, and it has these stunning leaves. This is a Monstera Peru, and currently got it clipped up where it's starting to climb up and reach towards that sunlight like it would do in nature up there. My ceilings go up to 22 feet. And this is a mature philodendron painted lady, like the cutting that I have growing over there. I do have some succulents. I have a donkey's tail, burro's tail rather, and I did awful at those in the beginning, but now they're rocking it. I have a string of pearls here, and I have over here, let's see, yeah, another burro's tail in that corner that's actually doing really well. And another one that's doing really well is the string of hearts, which I couldn't get to grow well when I first had it, and it died after like being a clipping of like 2 inches, and now it goes down more than 6 feet. Just to give you another better view of the philodendron gloriosum and its stunning beautiful leaves, and my philodendron patriciae to give you a better look at its leaves. And this one right here is an interesting plant. This is an allocation Hyla Beauty, which has some beautiful, beautiful colors to it. This is a closer look at that Veitchii, the Veitchii new leaf that's coming out, the King Anthurium, and I'm really excited for that. And so that's the living room, and this is kind of a, let me try to do a pan over for you guys to see. And over there, that's my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, also nicknamed the mini monstera that I've shown you guys before, that is starting to not do so well, and I'm probably gonna have to take it down, but it has climbed up to that 22-foot mark several times. But yeah, I'm gonna try to jump up here a little bit to give you a better view. And there you are. I am rarely in my living room. Rarely do I watch that TV unless it's like having friends over for like a movie night. By friends, I mean friend, because there's not really enough space in here for more than 2 people. Yeah, so I rarely, I mean, this is kind of just like a room for my plants to live in, and, you know, I just get to basically pay the rent, so, you know, it is what it is. Recently I showed you a tour of my bedroom, so I won't spend too much time in here, but I did recently take down all of the pothos that were up on this wall and started replacing them with different varieties of heartleaf philodendron, from the neon heartleaf to the Brazils and so forth, and I've always wanted to do that. Again, I've showed you guys this too. I found this on Pinterest where you just take a bamboo stick, and I have it hanging down from here trailing, and I have them trailing, try to create a separate wall over here for my bed. So I just kind of like that idea. It gives it more of the jungle vibes, you know. Here is the mother plant of my lemon lime maranta, which is just starting to bounce back from not doing so well. I have up here Syngonium frost that I recently got. This is a philodendron bipennifolum. Its leaves are very lovely and have a very unique look. I started having a second Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, the mini monstera, grow up my wall, and it's actually doing really well. And then I have just a bunch more philodendron and actually alocasia over here as well too. So this is that monstera Peru that I have in my living room wall. This is what it looks like up close in person. And over here I have more of my philodendron billietiae cuttings that are water propagating right now. Then this is my philodendron Dean McDowell, which I absolutely love, and I just repotted it to give it a new pot because it needed more space, and all of a sudden it started shooting out a new leaf, so I'm glad that that's opening. This is what the philodendron burley marks looks like, the regular version right there. Down below here, this is a bromeliad, and this is an alocasia. This is one of my favorite alocasias, and it's doing well. It's in dormancy right now, so it's not growing. That's an alocasia Jacqueline. Look at those beautiful, beautiful leaves. I absolutely love it. It's stunning. And this is a recent plant, philodendron yoepi, or joepi as people would call it. I have another version of a smaller billietiae right there that's growing. This is that mother plant of the crawling philodendron that I have potted up out there. And then, let's see here. Yeah, this guy has been doing really well. Another crawling philodendron. Look at those beautiful leaves. They're so cute. I just love that velvety like leaf color and texture. It's absolutely stunning. And then over here, just in this grow cabinet, I have a regular alocasia, I believe it's called sensorina, something with an S, and then an alocasia frydek, which has beautiful leaves as well, and I love it. Alocasias are very interesting to care for, but I do love caring for them. Then over here, I just have pothos. Still haven't taken that one down yet, but this will give you a different, I guess, look at how things are set up here in my room. And yes, I do have a comfy pillow that is a alocasia frydek. And I'll walk out to give you a wider look. Let's see how much I can back up without bumping into or breaking any plants. There you go. That'll give you an idea. I love sleeping in here. I get such a good night's sleep because I'm just surrounded by all these beautiful plants, and they're stunning. You know, for those of you who watched me in the news when I was on the news during the pandemic, we did a coloring show together on Facebook, and these are all the coloring book pages I did with you guys during that Facebook Live show. I have them on my wall over here. So I'm actually going to be doing a plant class soon at the Bronze Petal in Denver, which involves coloring books and plants. So yeah, that is kind of the latest of the updates that are going on here, but I still do have some things that I wanted to do before the new year. And what are those things, you ask? Well, I can promise you this, you folks will be the first to know. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel, give this video a like too, because that also helps out a lot, and I promise you this, you will be updated as soon as new videos come out, because there are some fun design things I really want to check out. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in and checking this video out, and specifically any other videos that you may have watched. If you haven't again, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.